Are you ready? We're about to continue. Stedman's Medical Dictionary. Pineal, shaped like a pine cone. And when pine cones heat up, they pop open. See that being closed, it looking like a dragon egg? And over there, when it's open, it looks like a flower, a wonderful lotus. I wonder, how would you get it to heat up inside? I wonder if people think it's an accident that you can go from sadness to madness really quick. What's the Hulk known for? Gamma waves, gamma radiation. I wonder why our brain can produce gamma waves, and what would happen if you sustained it. I mean, there's a specific technique called gamma breath. Supposedly by doing the different breathing patterns, you activate your gamma waves in a way. But what happens at gamma? But before that, let's take a look at what a shaman sees in a mental hospital, shall we? The birth of a healer. Good news from the other world. And when the healers try to be born in this area, they often are subjected to torture, kept from being able to integrate, assimilate the information. Not trained on what can happen, and therefore the results can be terrifying. These other spirits that were there attached to these people were trying to get the poison out of them. It was so disheartening to a trained eye that he had to leave. He couldn't stay inside the area. This is what your kind of thinking produces, because you don't understand what you have or what you're made of. Did you see the burning bush? I mean, that's not just me, right? That looks like a burning bush inside the center of it, doesn't it? I don't know. I call it like I see it. Oh yeah, you can definitely end up with some bad stuff. Gamma waves are produced, and they show large-scale brain network activity, cognitive phenomena, and working memory, attention, and perceptual grouping, such as increased amplitude via meditation. Would this heat from the gamma waves that's being produced inside of your head cause the pineal gland to pop open? Is the pineal gland a singularity wired into your visual cortex which can give you visions? And I mean also, you have your work face, your face for your partner, your face for yourself, your face for your friends, all of these different faces you wear. You're just unaware of how many non-physical entities you are. You ever seen a person drink alcohol and all of a sudden they start changing into a different person? That's because they're drinking spirits. It makes it easier for certain spirits to come out. But when you finally have skills, you manage to put all your faces together and form an egregore. That egregore becomes a gestalt. My oh my, I wonder what the symbolism is behind this picture. Your lexicon's a little bit too small to deal with me, bruh. Don't stop studying and don't stop dreaming.
The pine cone, and to study the spins and the cycles of this pineal gland. It's a little gland about the size of a pea, but it looks like a pine cone, and we call it the pineal gland, and it secretes this melanin, and it changes the melanin into hormones. These hormones stimulate action during the day. We call it serious action, serotonin. And in the evening, it makes you mellow, and this hormone is called melatonin. It makes you mellow. And the one that makes you serious during the day, we call it serotonin. So melanin controls when you're going to become a man, controls every clock in your body, controls when your eyelashes grow, when your eyebrows grow, when your teeth grow. Melanin synchronizes the rhythmicity of your system, keeps things from being in conflict, synchronizes motion, helps you dream, helps you have these thoughts that you didn't know you were going to have. Melanin does that. It's the key to everything. It's a man who showed you how this thing works. He said, these are the cycles in the body. Everything has a cycle. The tide goes out, the tide comes in. Everything has a cycle. There's day, there's night. Everything has a cycle. And you have all these cycles inside your body. The kidney has a cycle, the heart has a cycle, the intestines has a cycle. But something has to keep these things in order, and that's melanin. So a man said, I'm going to show you these cycles. I'm going to make them into little wheels and show you how these things are synchronized. And he said, here it is right here. It's a wheel clock. The man's name was Benjamin Banneker. He knew melanin. He said, you don't understand it, but I'm going to show you how this thing works. These are the cycles of your kidneys. This is the cycle of your pancreas. And he made them into wheels. And they all work, but they're synchronized by one rhythmicity, which they call melanin. That's where the wheel clock comes from. Every invention comes from your body. To know your body is to know everything. The camera comes from your eyes. The speaker comes from your ear. A nuclear reactor comes from your liver. A car motor duplicates your digestive system. Everything comes from your body. Crystals that they use in computers were learned from studying melanin crystals. That's where they got computer chips from. Everything comes from your body. You want to know how to put something together? Study the body. Computer chips duplicate melanin crystals. That's how they got it. No problem. You want to discover something? Discover yourself. So we're looking at this. And we're looking at this galaxy here. We don't know what it's about. It has orbits, has spins. All we know is that it's sitting right underneath the pineal gland. And the pineal gland controls this rhythm thing, how this thing moves and spins. That's what it does.
There exists a mysterious and wonderful connection between human DNA, pine cones, pine trees, the pineal gland, and light. Us humans not only share some of our DNA in common with pine trees, but some species of pine trees have been identified as the largest genome to be sequenced. Where the human genome has 3 billion base pairs, a pine species has been shown as having 22 billion base pairs, which means a pine species has more than 7 times the amount of genetic material. These pairs form sequences called genes that then direct the cells to make proteins. Indigenous peoples have used pine needles and pine bark for at least hundreds of years, and many people around the world continue to use and research the pines. Powerful beneficial compounds found within both needles and bark are why the indigenous have used these in the winter to support respiratory and immune function. The pine bark is what the Iroquois gave to Jacques Cartier's critically ill crew back in 1536 to provide the vitamin C that they needed at that time. Pine bark also contains compounds called oligomeric proanthocyanidin compounds that function as powerful free radical scavengers. These OPCs are known to positively influence hemodynamics, which is how homeostatic processes in the body affect the dynamics of blood circulation and cardiovascular function. Other species of pine are nature's highest source of phytohormones, racinosteroids, and phytoandrogens. These compounds support hormone, endocrine, and adrenal function without over or understimulating the human body. The unique molecular structure of these powerful plant compounds and others like auxins and cytokinins influence growth and the light response in plants, as well as trigger strong bioactive responses in the human body and stimulate the expression of genetic material relating to longevity pathways and innate immune cell activation. Pine pollen is nature's highest source of these phytohormones and contains over 200 other bioactive nutrients in it. The Mickey Mouse-shaped pollen grain is a single living plant cell, and the 2 ears capture air and help carry the pollen grain. The complex sugars, which are also known as polysaccharides, along with the strong antioxidants, protect the pollen's DNA against radiation and environmental damage while floating through the air. Once the grain lands on a pine seed, it must stay attached to the seed with its germination filament for 1 full year. Then a second burst the following year leads to the transfer of its DNA. Within the pollen, there is an abundance of amino acids, vitamins, minerals, phytoandrogens, and other nutrients that stimulate rapid, anabolic growth through this second-year burst. While many pollens act as irritants for many people, pine pollen from the ponderosa and lodgepole species rarely reacts negatively with humans and have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for at least the last 2,000 years to support healthy reproductive and libido function in the human body. Pine pollen is also nature's highest source of DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone, which is a sterone that both male and female hormones can be created from. This is commonly known as the youthing hormone and has been studied extensively for its relation to the brain, mood, outlook, and neurobiological phenomena. The scientific journal Nature published a shockwave paper showing what happens to the human brain when DHEA is present, and showed that compared with placebo, DHEA reduced activity in the amygdala and hippocampus, enhanced connectivity between the amygdala and hippocampus, and enhanced activity in the RACC, rostral anterior cingulated cortex. DHEA reduced memory accuracy for emotional stimuli, and also reduced activity in regions associated with conjunctive memory encoding. The implications of the results of this study showed that DHEA supported healthy activity in regions associated with generation of negative emotion and enhanced activity in regions linked to regulatory processes. In other words, the ability to process emotions in a balanced and healthy way was positively influenced. DHEA is also known as a strong compound in its ability to stimulate 2 important neurotrophins, known as nerve growth factor, NGF, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. The activation of these receptors regulate the healthy production of new neurons and the maintenance of existing neurons, and their axonal and dendritic connections. Ample production of NGF and BDNF in the human body supports the biological functions of increased mental and physical energy levels, muscle strength, immune system function, and metabolic functioning. Because the pollen comes from the pine cone, its symbolic connection to the pineal gland and spiritual traditions is fascinating to many. The Fontana della Pina at the Vatican shows a pine cone that many believe represents knowledge about the pineal gland. The pineal gland produces melatonin and helps regulate circadian rhythms and cycles of light based on photons hitting the